I just turned 32 last Thursday. My relatives pushed hard for a birthday meal at my folks' place, despite me repeatedly saying I wanted zero involvement with them. Yet my mom, Elaine, bombarded me with messages, laying on the guilt thick, how we barely see one another anymore, how blood ties are supposed to mean everything. So I showed up. Worst choice I ever made, or possibly the smartest move I've ever pulled. Some background first because it matters. I left university at 21 after figuring out I could earn far more creating websites and managing digital projects than any diploma would bring in. My dad, Harold, completely flipped out. In his eyes, a guy without a college degree isn't really a man. He holds an MBA and grinded 30 years up the corporate ranks at one firm. My brother Marcus copied the blueprint exactly, earned his own MBA, wed a woman named Lauren whose relatives have deep pockets, and instantly became the shining star. Meanwhile, I turned into the household punchline, the college quitter, the guy supposedly mooching in a basement. Never mind I purchased my own place at 26. Never mind I now have 4 people on my payroll. To Harold, if you lack a prestigious office and an impressive title, you're worthless. All right, so Harold's out here acting like a diploma is the official license for adulthood. This man witnessed his own kid launch a legitimate company, purchase real estate at 26. Do you grasp how wild that is given today's housing market? Employs 4 staff members, yet Harold remains fixated on, where's the framed credential? Dude, the credential is the property title. The credential is the direct deposit stubs. Certain folks hoard diplomas, others accumulate assets. But no, Harold demands that wall decoration or you're practically prehistoric. Sure, generational difference, different priorities. Still, eventually you have to install the update, right? The landscape shifted, evolve or get left behind. Man, looking back, I really believed time would soften his stance. Spoiler, it didn't. Here's the part nobody in my circle knows. At 23, my mom phoned me in tears. Harold had quietly taken a second mortgage. Hospital costs from his cardiac procedure kept stacking. Cards maxed out. Foreclosure loomed. She pleaded with me never to breathe a word to him that she'd reached out. She pleaded for assistance if I had any way to step in. And because I still cared about her, I stepped up. I arranged recurring transfers, house note, hospital balance, 3 separate credit lines every month without fail for 11 straight years. Harold never once questioned the source. Elaine convinced him she'd negotiated some arrangement with the lender. He bought it because he never checked the paperwork. 11 years. People, do you realize the iron discipline that took? This guy sat through years of his dad ridiculing him at every reunion, labeling him worthless, a quitter, a leech. And he stayed silent, knowing full well he was single-handedly preserving their shelter. That's next-level composure. I'd have cracked after maybe 3 holiday meals. Pass the potatoes, Dad. Oh, and maybe pass some appreciation. Your roof exists because of me. But nope. He stayed mute, kept sending funds, kept taking the high road. And Harold genuinely thought he'd sweet-talk the bank into some sweetheart deal. Buddy, you didn't charm anyone. Your so-called disappointment of a son carried your entire household on his shoulders for over a decade. Honestly, the restraint still blows my mind. I replay it and think, how did I not explode sooner? It didn't end there either. 4 years back, Marcus's wife Lauren required urgent surgery. Their coverage rejected the procedure. Marcus approached me quietly, practically begging, asking if I could spot him the cash just that one time. I covered the full amount, $63,000. He broke down, swore gratitude. Vowed repayment. Guess how much has come back? Nothing, not a dime. And you know what Marcus did 6 months afterward at Thanksgiving dinner? He openly mocked me for still being unattached, joked that maybe with a legitimate career I'd attract a legitimate partner. I continued covering anyway. His auto loan when layoffs hit him. 3 months of lease payments when Lauren threatened to walk. I documented every single thing, dates, figures, transfer confirmations. Not out of suspicion, but because some instinct whispered this moment was inevitable. Marcus is exactly the sort who'd sink in deep water, then criticize the rescue diver's technique. You literally saved this guy's spouse. You preserved his relationship. You handled his vehicle and housing. His thank you, publicly clowning you about relationship status at a holiday table. Marcus, the nerve is off the charts. And can we discuss the evidence collection? This man saved screenshots spanning years. That isn't paranoia, that's foresight. He sensed somewhere deep down, these folks would eventually screw up so badly he'd need proof. Some people keep diaries, some practice mindfulness. This one built an archive, and frankly, legendary move. I still get a quiet thrill remembering how methodical I was, like I was subconsciously prepping for court. Thursday evening, we gathered for supper. Elaine prepared baked turkey. Marcus supplied the drinks. Lauren hardly acknowledged me. Things stayed civil until Harold began probing about my business. Except it wasn't genuine curiosity, it was sarcasm. He wanted to know when I planned to land a proper position, when I'd quit faking being self-employed. I said things were solid. He scoffed, sure they are. Then he banged the table so violently the plates rattled and launched into a tirade. He shouted that I quit school. I possess no genuine profession. I hide in a home office pretending to run things while actual adults clock in daily. He declared I shamed the entire lineage. He said he regretted claiming me as his child. Marcus nodded in agreement. Lauren smirked quietly, and Elaine simply stared at her food, silent. I didn't react, didn't shout back. I reached for my backpack and retrieved my laptop, and that's when the atmosphere flipped. Here we go, the moment everything cracked open. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. Harold really hammered that table, full theatrical fury, stemware trembling, face flushed. The entire show. And for what? To berate the single person at that table who'd actually built something sustainable. Meanwhile, Marcus, who we're about to discover is financially ruined, is cheering him on like backup vocals. Lauren smirking. And Elaine quietly examining her plate like it holds the secrets of the universe. Not one voice spoke up for me. They simply observed their personal safety net get torn apart verbally and stayed quiet. Then the laptop appeared. You know that instant someone produces proof at a family meal. The script is about to flip hard. Update 1. Okay, I'm continuing. Plenty of you wanted more, and honestly typing this helps me sort through the chaos. So there I sat, laptop open on my mom's dining surface, Harold still crimson and fuming from his outburst. I opened my banking dashboard and angled the display toward him. I told him to actually examine it. He narrowed his eyes. He stubbornly refuses eyewear around others. Textbook Harold. Elaine was already shaking her head, urging me to close it, insisting this wasn't appropriate. But I continued. I scrolled back 11 years of entries. Regular house payments to their lender, cardiology center remittances, credit card settlements, everything. I asked Harold if he ever once puzzled over how the lender magically resolved matters, how balances vanished, how collection calls ceased. He froze. Marcus snatched the device and began scanning. I saw realization hit when he spotted entries tied to his name. His vehicle note, apartment rent, the $63,000 hospital wire labeled with Lauren's procedure. Lauren rose and demanded to know what she was seeing. Marcus ordered her to sit. She remained standing. Harold still squinting stubbornly, no glasses, pride first. That single detail sums him up. Ego above function, appearance above truth, and now that ego faces annihilation by transaction history, and Elaine insisting this isn't the moment. Lady, when exactly is the moment? When should your kid disclose he's quietly bankrolled the household? Over coffee later, should he have booked a conference room and prepared slides? No, the moment is tonight. The venue is this table. Right beside the turkey, I remember thinking, finally, no more hiding behind politeness. Here, where it became messy. Lauren had zero clue. Marcus had requested funds from me for her operation. He'd informed her the coverage dispute succeeded. He claimed his employer chipped in. For 4 years she bought the story. Now she stared at Marcus like he was an imposter. And Marcus glared at me like I'd deliberately ruined his home life. Harold turned to Elaine and asked whether she'd known the full story. Elaine burst into tears. She confessed she'd contacted me 11 years earlier, said she felt trapped and saw no alternative. Harold rose silently and exited to the patio, simply standing motionless, gazing into darkness. I've never witnessed him wordless before in my life. But Marcus erupted. He roared that I had zero business airing this, that I aimed to shame them all, that I'd always envied him. That this was my sad attempt to seem relevant. He accused me of dangling cash over their heads like some underworld lender. He literally labeled me an underworld lender. his sibling who preserved his wife's life and never requested repayment. Marcus really uttered the words underworld lender, underworld lender. Come on, a lender like that demands vig and sends enforcers. This guy handed over 87 grand interest-free. He's closer to a private foundation with one ungrateful beneficiary. And you're just envious bit. Envious of exactly what, Marcus? Your hidden liabilities, your web of deception, your looming eviction notice. Enlighten me. What precisely is enviable here? The advanced degree that clearly isn't covering expenses. The respectable employment you no longer hold. Lauren kept pressing him. Why the dishonesty? He brushed it off, said it wasn't important, just finances, he'd repay someday. She asked how exactly he intended to repay 60 grand when they struggled with basic rent. That's when fresh information dropped. They were 3 months delinquent on housing. Marcus had been let go from his latest position 2 months prior and told no one. So now I'm processing that my brother is sinking fast, yet still found energy to ridicule me last Thanksgiving. Still felt entitled to label me a failure while quietly counting on another rescue. The prized son with credentials and the ideal spouse, 3 months from homelessness, and he's belittling me. Harold eventually re-entered. No apology, no acknowledgement. He posed one single question. Asked whether I expected applause for flaunting cash and shrinking everyone else. That's what he said, shrinking everyone. I answered no, I seek respect. And since respect clearly isn't on offer here, I'm finished. As of midnight, every transfer ceases completely. I rose and headed for the exit. That's when Elaine seized my wrist and things deteriorated further. This was the moment I felt the most betrayal, not from him, but from her. Harold's opening line after discovering his worthless kid safeguarded his residence, his credit, his health for over a decade, and he inquires whether I crave praise for diminishing them. Harold, you feel diminished because reality finally caught up. You devoted years ridiculing the single individual preventing your collapse. That isn't my doing. That's yours. That's accountability arriving. And his immediate reflex wasn't appreciation, wasn't remorse, wasn't even quiet reflection, but counterattack. This man prefers perishing on his ego mountain over conceding error. And Marcus, 3 months from the street, unemployed, spouse learning he's a serial deceiver, still possessed the stamina to belittle his brother at a holiday meal. The self-deception runs in the bloodline here. Update 2. So many asked what happened when Elaine clutched my arm. Here's the scene. She tugged me back toward the chairs and began pleading, not requesting, pleading. Said I couldn't abandon them like this. They'd forfeit the home. Harold's cardiac history couldn't withstand another money scare. She weaponized his health condition. The identical condition whose ongoing costs I've shouldered since age 23. I freed my arm and asked why she never once stood up for me. Every gathering where Harold derided my path. Every celebration where Marcus cracked jokes about my choices. She remained mute. She permitted them to trash me while I quietly funded their existence. She claimed she couldn't reveal the truth to Harold. It would shatter his self-image, That mattered more than her own kid's worth. Elaine prioritized Harold's vanity over her son's basic respect for 11 years. Sit with that. She observed her husband degrade her child at every reunion. The same child keeping their mortgage current. And she judged his ego more valuable than elementary fairness. Now she deploys his heart as guilt ammunition, the heart still functioning thanks to me. Lady, the gall leaves me speechless. You cannot treat someone as an unseen cash machine for a decade. Watch them endure public scorn every holiday, then weep about unity when they finally draw the line. That math doesn't balance. That equation never balances. Harold reappeared and instructed Elaine to release me, said if I chose to desert family over wounded pride, that was on me, and I'd carry that burden. He reduced it to wounded pride. 11 years of support plus public degradation boiled down to wounded pride. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Lauren began scrolling her phone at the table. She accessed their joint account and recited balances aloud. Checking showed $400. Savings sat empty. Marcus owed her folks $12,000 from 3 years earlier. He'd sworn repayment. Except he never repaid because I absorbed everything else, and he diverted what should have gone to them. Lauren's parents aren't affluent like I assumed. Solid middle-class folks, and that $12,000 represented their safety reserve. Marcus pocketed their safety reserve and assured everyone it was settled. So now Lauren grasps her husband deceived everybody, not solely her, for years. Marcus siphoned his in-laws' backup fund and pretended it was returned. This man eyed hardworking middle-class savings, likely accumulated over decades, and simply kept it while his brother quietly covered the rest. So the funds intended for Lauren's parents went, where exactly, Marcus? Because it sure wasn't housing, not savings. He had supplemental income from me plus his in-laws, money plus past employment, yet still landed at $400 total. That isn't misfortune. That isn't market hardship. That's personal failure. Some individuals could inherit millions and still wind up penniless. The issue isn't cash, it's character. Marcus attempted justification, claimed he'd resolve it all, just required additional time. Blamed the employment landscape for being unforgiving at his tier. Accused me of cornering him by exposing everything publicly instead of handling it discreetly. He actually faulted me for his fabrications, as though I compelled him to mislead his spouse and her family. Lauren asked me straight how much Marcus owed me altogether. I answered, including surgery, vehicle, rent support, plus miscellaneous over time, slightly above $87,000. She buried her face. Marcus told her to relax. She ordered him silent. Then Harold did something astonishing. He faced Marcus and questioned how he could act so recklessly, not directed at me, at Marcus. He demanded of his favored son how he accumulated such obligations undetected. And Marcus, trapped, did what Marcus does best. He pivoted. Pointed toward me and declared, at least he pursued a legitimate profession. At least he completed education, earned credentials, wed a quality partner. Claimed I sat on funds because I carried zero obligations, zero dependents, nothing to spend on besides rescuing folks who supposedly never requested rescue. Nobody requested rescue. The most absurd rewrite of reality I've witnessed. Elaine phoned me sobbing. Marcus arrived at my door weeping, but sure, no one asked. And even when Harold finally critiques Marcus, finally recognizes the golden child isn't gold-plated, Marcus's comeback is, well, at least I earned credentials. Brother, your credentials aren't covering rent. Your credentials didn't preserve your spouse. Your credentials are currently valued at negative $87,000. That's your outstanding balance to the dropout in this room. Eventually, you must quit brandishing the diploma and face the actual results. The results show you're behind. Nobody requested help. Elaine called in tears. Marcus cried on my sofa, but sure, no one asked. I looked at every face. I repeated, the transfers halt at midnight. And I added one more thing. I said I was finished staying unseen. If they preferred acting like I didn't exist, fine. But I would ensure they remembered exactly what vanished. I walked out. And that same night I began reaching out. Leaving that house felt like shedding a skin I'd worn too long. Heavy but necessary. Final update. All right, folks, this closes it out. 2 weeks since that meal, and I want to lay out the complete aftermath. The evening I departed my parents' home, I terminated every automatic draft. House note, hospital charges, credit obligations, done. But simply detaching felt insufficient. They belittled me for 11 years while accepting my support. They should experience the emptiness I carried. First action, I contacted an attorney. I possessed meticulous logs of every payment to Marcus. Timestamps, sums, references. My attorney prepared an official repayment notice for the $87,000. Not polite, formal, with a 30-day window before pursuing collection. Marcus received it via tracked delivery 4 days post-dinner. I started reaching out is the scariest phrase when it comes from someone holding proof and means. This man didn't merely exit. He activated full accountability mode. Attorney, formal notices, certified delivery, hard deadline. This emerges when endless patience finally expires. He granted 11 years of leniency, 11 years of quiet endurance, 11 years of grace. They exploited every single year to degrade him. So now they meet the version forged by their own behavior. They chose to treat him like an outsider. Perfect. Outsiders use legal channels. Outsiders dispatch certified documents. Outsiders skip the family courtesy rate. Next, I messaged Lauren privately. She delocated my contact in Marcus's archived pleas for surgery funds. She'd already relocated to her parents' spare bedroom. I mentioned the $12,000 Marcus claimed he'd repaid her folks. She went silent, expressed thanks, ended the call. Inside 3 days, Lauren's parents confronted Marcus at his residence. Her dad insisted on evidence of repayment. Marcus produced nothing, because nothing existed. Her parents informed him full restitution within 60 days or legal steps follow. Now Marcus faces twin formal claims. $87,000 to me, $12,000 to Lauren's parents. 0 employment. $400 remaining, spouse refusing contact. The chain reaction accelerates, and it accelerates brutally. Lauren resides in her parents' spare room. Her parents seek restitution, I seek restitution. Marcus confronts roughly $99,000 in legal pressure, $400 to his name, no income, spouse gone. This is textbook implosion. Everything Marcus constructed his identity around, the education, the employment track, the marriage, the favored son status, disintegrating because none of it stood independently. It rested on the sibling he ridiculed. The base was falsehood. Now the structure collapses, and truthfully, I feel 0 remorse. I feel liberated. They branded me the household disappointment. Turns out I was the sole support preventing total collapse. Turns out I was the sole support preventing total collapse. That realization still hits hard every time I say it. They invested 11 years labeling me the letdown, the quitter, the embarrassment, the shame. And the entire time I quietly served as their anchor. Remove the anchor and the whole vessel sinks. The parents can't refinance. Their credit lies in ruins from obligations I silently serviced. The star son faces nearly 6 figures in legal demands with pocket change left. The flawless union dissolved. The entire facade they upheld, the accomplished household, the credentialed heir, the corporate patriarch, was illusion propped up by the one person they refused to value. And now they face the cost of that refusal. I don't wish them harm. I simply wish them clarity. Whether they ever find it, that's no longer my burden.